Hello everyone, and welcome to my B&B Fan Club channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The hospital corridor smelled of bleach and burnt coffee, the kind that lingered in the back of the throat long after the cup was empty. Steffy Forrester stood outside the private chamber, her manicured fingers resting on the cool glass of the observation window. Inside, Beth Logan lay propped up against a mountain of pillows, her face pale but attentive, her gaze fixated on the door as if she had been waiting for this moment for years. Steffy's heart pounded against her ribcage. She'd come straight from the office, still wearing the charcoal jacket she'd put on that morning, the one with the tiny coffee stain on the cuff she hadn't noticed until now. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Most likely Liam, Hope, or someone else wanting answers she didn't have. She silenced it without looking. The door cracked open and Beth's frail but steady voice echoed out. "Steffy, come inside. We need to talk." Steffy paused. She had last seen Beth at a family event, where they exchanged forced grins and polite small chat about grandchildren and Forrester creations. Beth had been weak even then, but there was a spark in her eyes, a quiet strength that reminded Steffy of Hope in her best moments. That spark had dimmed, but it had not gone out. She stepped inside. The room was small and clinical, the type of place where secrets died or were born. Beth patted the side of the bed, extending an offer Steffy couldn't resist. She sat with her hands tightly clutched in her lap, nails driving into her palms. "I don't have much time," Beth explained, her voice barely above a whisper. "What doctors say is irrelevant. What counts is what I have to tell you." Steffy swallowed. "Beth, you don't have to." "No, I do." Beth's eyes, the same stormy blue as Hope's, focused on Steffy. "I've been carrying this for too long." Steffy twisted her stomach as she said, "You deserve to know." She had a sudden, unreasonable concern that it was about Liam, the never-ending triangle that had characterized their lives for years. But Beth's next remarks dispelled that notion. "It's about Phoebe," Beth explained. The name struck Steffy like a physical blow. Phoebe, her daughter. She had lost the baby, the kid she'd mourned for years, named after her late aunt, whose absence still left a void in her chest every time she thought of her. "How about Phoebe?" Steffy's voice cracked. She hadn't intended for it to, but the word came out raw and vulnerable. Beth took a hesitant breath. "She isn't gone, Steffy. She's alive." The room shifted. Steffy clutched the side of the bed, her knuckles white. "What are you talking about?" "I held her. I saw her. She stopped breathing." "The physicians? I know what the doctors told you," Beth said, her voice rising. "I understand what you saw. But that wasn't the truth." "Not all of it." Steffy peered at her, skepticism clashing with desperate, dangerous hope. "What are you saying, Beth?" Beth's hands trembled as she reached for a little envelope on her bedside table. She handed it to Steffy, her fingers chilly and papery yet steady against her own. "Open it." Steffy's hand shook as she ripped open the envelope. Inside was a wrinkled and faded image that was unmistakable. A young girl about 3 years old, with Steffy's dark hair and Liam's eyes, smiles at the camera with gap-toothed grin. On the back, Beth's precise penmanship read, "Phoebe 2023. Steffy's breath caught. "This can't be real." "It is," Beth responded softly. "I'm so sorry, Steffy. I apologize for what I did. For what I let to happen." The words hung in the air, heavy and oppressive. Steffy's thoughts raced, attempting to put together the impossible. "Did you know? Has this been going on all along?" Beth nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "It began the night Phoebe was born. You were really young, Steffy. So overwhelmed. Liam was, well, Liam. And Hope?" Beth's voice trembled. Hope had just lost Beth. Her name is Beth. Grief was eating her alive. I believed I was helping. I thought I was giving everyone a chance to heal. Steffy's vision became blurry with tears. "What have you done, Beth?" Beth closed her eyes, as if the recollection was too terrible to confront full-on. Dr. Buckingham was intended to help Hope cope, but he recognized an opportunity. He noticed Hope's strong desire for a child and her need to fill that emptiness. When Phoebe was born, the monitor stopped working, prompting him to make a decision. He said she was gone, but she was not. She was weak but alive. He took her. He gave her to Hope. Steffi's world crumbled. The room whirled and the walls closed in. She gripped the photograph to her chest, as if it could ground her in reality. Does Hope have my daughter? Beth nodded, tears running down her face. She does not know, Steffy. She believes Phoebe is Beth. She believes she officially adopted her, and that all of the paperwork was properly completed. Reese forged everything. He convinced me that it was the only way, that you and Liam were too young and unstable. That Hope needed this more. Steffi's voice was scarcely heard. You let her take my baby. I thought I was saving her, Beth explained, her voice quivering. I thought I was saving you all. But I was mistaken. I was so wrong. The tears flowed uncontrollably. Steffi collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably. The snapshot slid from her fingers and fell to the floor. She saw it all in flashes. Phoebe's little fingers, the way she'd clutched Steffi's thumb in the NICU, and the way her chest had stopped moving. She had held her daughter while she died. Or so she had thought. I named her Phoebe, Steffi blurted out. After my aunt. I sang for her. I told her that I loved her. And you? You let them take her from me. Beth lunged for her, but Steffi backed away. I'm sorry, Beth muttered. I'm very sorry. I thought I was doing the correct thing. But now I realize. I snatched your child. I took your future, Steffi said, her fists clenched. How could you? How could you lie to me, Liam, and all of us for years? I was scared, Beth said. I'm scared of what Hope might do if she knew the truth. I'm afraid of what it will do to her. She was so broken, Steffi. She had lost everything. And Phoebe, Beth, gave Hope reason to keep going. I convinced myself it was a mercy. But it wasn't. It was cowardice. Steffi looked at the photograph on the floor, at the tiny girl who had always belonged to her. Hope had reared, cherished, and claimed the girl as her own. The girl had no idea Steffi was her mother. What should I do now? Steffi's voice was hollow and empty. How can I tell her? How can I take her away from the only mother she has ever known? Beth's tears flowed quicker. I do not know. I don't have any answers. I couldn't die knowing this secret. You deserve to know. Phoebe deserved to know. Steffi stood, her legs shaky. She picked up the photograph and delicately cradled it, as if it were the most fragile thing in the world. I have to see her, she whispered quietly. I have to see my daughter. Beth nodded, her face crumpling. She is with Hope. In the cabin. She's happy, Steffi. She is loved. Steffi's heart wrenched. Happy. Loved. By a different mother. By a family that had taken her child and formed a life on a lie. I don't know how to do this. Steffi confessed. I don't know how to be her mother after all this time. You already are, she said quietly. You always were. Steffi left the hospital in a trance, clutching the snapshot in her palm. The trip to the cabin was a jumble of red lights, honking horns, and the distant sound of sirens. Her mind was filled with fury, anguish, love, and terror. She parked outside the cabin that Hope had converted into a home for her and Beth, and remained in the car for a long time, gazing at the warm glow of the windows. She saw them through the glass. Hope laughed as she pursued a small girl into the living room, her hair flying behind her. The girl, Phoebe, chuckled, her voice high and joyous, and her tiny feet pattered against the hardwood floor. She was gorgeous. Perfect. Everything Steffi had hoped for and more. Steffi's hand hovered above the door handle. She wanted to rush inside, take Phoebe into her arms and tell her who she was. But she couldn't. Not yet. Not like this. She exited the car, her legs heavy, and walked to the door. She knocked with her knuckles, scarcely making a sound. Hope opened it, her face lit up with surprise. Steffi, what are you doing here? Hope's voice was warm and friendly, unaware of the storm rising inside her half-sister. Steffi's throat clenched. She peered past Hope to the young girl who had stopped playing and was staring at her with big, inquiring eyes. Her eyes were terribly familiar. I need to talk to you, Steffi began, her voice cracking. It's about Beth. Hope's smile wavered. What's wrong? Is this Mom? Steffi shook her head. No. Hope's face furrowed. It's about your daughter. What do you mean? Steffi took a step inside, the snapshot burning a hole through her pocket. Hope, there's something you should know. I recently found out. And that will change everything. Hope's face turned pale. Steffy, you're scaring me. Steffy glanced at Phoebe, the small girl who was her daughter, miracle and stolen kid. Tears ran down her cheeks as she whispered the words that would rock both of their worlds. She is not your daughter, Hope. She is mine. The cabin was silent. Phoebe tilted her head, perplexed by the tension in the air. Hope glanced at Steffy, mouth gaping and eyes wide with disbelief. What? Hope whispered. Steffy took out the photos and held it out with quivering palms. This is Phoebe. My Phoebe. The baby I believed I had lost. Beth told me everything. He picked up Reese. He gave her to you. You've been raising my daughter, Hope? Hope took the photograph, her hands trembling. She peered at the small girl, who resembled the child playing in her living room. No, she replied, her voice breaking. No, that is not feasible. Beth is mine. I adopted her. The paperwork? It was a lie, Steffy stated, her voice harsh. All of it. Reese forged it. Beth knew. She's known the whole time. Hope's knees buckled. She slid onto the couch, the snapshot slipping through her fingers. No, she said repeatedly, as if repeating it enough times would make it untrue. No, no, no. Phoebe toddled over, detecting her mother's concern. Mommy, she murmured, her voice soft. What's wrong? Hope drew her closer, burying her face in Phoebe's hair. There's nothing, baby. Mommy's fine. But she was not. Neither of them were. Steffy stood motionless, tears flowing down her cheeks. She wanted to reach for Phoebe, touch her, and feel her daughter's warmth after years of loneliness. But she couldn't. Not yet. Hope's anguish was too fresh and real. I'm sorry, Steffy whimpered. I'm very sorry, Hope. I did not intend to hurt you. I just had to know her. I had to be her mother. Hope glanced up at her, her eyes red and puffy. How could you do it? She choked out. How could you take her away from me? I'm not taking her, Steffy declared, her voice breaking. I want to be a part of her life. She's my daughter, Hope. But she's also yours. You have reared her. You've adored her. I cannot take that away from her. From you, Hope wailed, hugging Phoebe closer. She's all I have, she murmured. She's my everything. I know, Steffy replied, her heart bleeding for both of them. I know. Phoebe wriggled in Hope's arms, her gaze shifting between the two ladies. Mommy, she stated again, her voice unsure. Hope mustered a smile, but it trembled. It's fine, sweetie. Aunt Steffy is just visiting. Steffy knelt down, her pulse hammering. Hi, Phoebe, she murmured softly. My name is Steffy, and I'm your aunt. Phoebe's brow wrinkled. Then, to Steffi's amazement, she reached out a hand and touched her cheek. Are you sad? She asked. Steffi's tears flowed quicker. Yes, sweetheart. I am sad. But I'm also really pleased to meet you. Phoebe smiled, a modest, trusting smile that both wounded and mended Steffi's heart. She didn't know the truth yet. She had no idea the chaos her existence had caused. But in that moment, she was just a little girl, curious and kind, and Steffy adored her more than she ever imagined possible. Hope looked at them, her face a mask of anguish and terror. What happens now? She inquired, her voice scarcely audible. Steffy stood, wiping her eyes. I don't know, she said. But we will figure it out. Together. For her. Hope nodded, her gaze distant, lost in a world that had suddenly fallen around her. She's my daughter, she repeated, as if clinging to the fact she'd known for years. She's ours, Steffy murmured quietly. She's both of ours. What followed were weeks of emotional turmoil, legal battles and tear-filled chats. Steffy and Hope consulted with lawyers, therapists, and anybody else who could assist them traverse the impossible. Phoebe, Beth, was blissfully ignorant, her world still filled with crayons and bedtime stories, though she began to detect her mom's anxiety. Steffy moved into the cabin on a temporary basis, a hard but essential decision. She wanted to be near to Phoebe, to re-establish the link that had been robbed from her. But every moment reminded Hope of what she was giving up, of the life they'd both created on a lie. Liam was ripped apart by shame and anguish, trapped between the two women he loved. He'd been there the night Phoebe was born, and he'd held Steffi's hand while they mourned their baby. He gazed at the small child who called Hope Mommy, and noticed his own eyes staring back at him. "I don't know how to fix this," he said Steffy one night as they sat on the cabin porch, watching Phoebe play in the yard. "I don't know how to make this right." "You can't," Steffy murmured, her voice flat. "Neither of us can. We just have to love her. Both of us. All of us." Hope joined them, her arms wrapped around herself as if to keep her together. "She asked me today why you cry so much," she explained quietly. "I didn't know what to tell her." Steffy's heart wrenched. "What did you say?" "That grown-ups do become sad," Hope said. "But that doesn't mean we don't love her." Steffy nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "She's quite brilliant. You are so kind. You've done an incredible job, Hope." Hope's mouth shook. "She is my daughter." "I know," Steffy replied. "And she always will be. I am not trying to take her away from you. I want to be her mom too." Hope gazed at her for the first time since the truth was revealed. "You are," she replied softly. "You're her mother. I see that whenever she looks at you. She recognizes you, Steffy. Somehow she knows." The legal struggle was severe. Reese Buckingham, who was long gone, had done an excellent job of concealing his activities, but the reality was apparent. DNA tests proved what Steffy already knew in her heart. Phoebe was her daughter. The courts granted Steffy joint custody, leaving Hope saddened yet determined. "We'll make it work," Hope responded, her voice strong despite her tears. "This is for her. We will do everything it takes." And they did. They slowly and painfully constructed a new normal. Steffy and Hope alternated with Phoebe, their schedules a delicate dance of pickups and drop-offs, bedtime tales, and school plays. Liam was there through it all, a continuous presence in his daughter's life, his guilt a quiet shadow that he carried with him. Phoebe thrived, and her world expanded to include two mothers who loved her deeply, albeit imperfectly. She addressed them both as mommy, a term with different connotations but equal weight. She didn't yet understand the complexities of her narrative, but she felt loved, safe, and certain that she was wanted. Steffy's regret never subsided. It lingered in her chest, a continual anguish for the years she'd missed, the hurt she'd given Hope, and the deception that had formed their entire lives. But sadness was tempered by delight, by Phoebe's laughing, and by the way her small hand slipped into Steffy's without a second thought. One night, as Steffy was tucking Phoebe into bed, the small girl glanced up at her with those familiar eyes. "Mommy," she remarked with a drowsy voice, "why are you and Mommy Hope crying sometimes?" Steffy's throat clenched. She gently brushed a curl from Phoebe's forehead. "Because we love you so much," she explained. "And sometimes love makes us cry. But it's a good weep." Phoebe nodded, happy, and nestled into her pillow. "I love you, Mommy." "I love you too, baby," Steffy said softly, her voice breaking. "More than anything." As she exited the room, she passed Hope on the hallway. They remained there for a moment, two mothers united by a kid and a secret, their gazes connecting in silent understanding. "We're doing okay," Hope murmured softly. "Yeah," Steffy said, tears in her eyes. "We are." It was not flawless. Never would be. But it was theirs, a family built by tragedy and redemption, bound together by a small child who embodied the best of both. Steffy's regret lingered like a shadow, following her everywhere. Her love, however, remained passionate and unshakable, guiding her through the darkness. She had a daughter. She had a family. And for the first time in years she felt hope. Steffy kept the photograph of Phoebe that Beth had given her on her nightstand as a reminder of the reality that had nearly killed them all. But it was also a reminder of the fortitude required to rebuild, and the love that had endured the lies. Steffy glanced at it every night before going to bed, her fingers tracing the shape of her daughter's face. "I'm sorry," she muttered to Phoebe, Hope, and the girl she'd been before she lost it all. "I'm sorry it took so long." But Phoebe was now home. She was liked. Steffy knew it was enough. The end.